Hello, my name is Maggie, and I am a beloved child of God, and so are you. Today we're talking about David and Goliath. I know you know the story of David and Goliath, the small shepherd boy who faces off against a giant 9-foot tall warrior with heavy armor and a shield bearer, and the shepherd boy wins. Do you remember how he won? He won with a rock in his slingshot, and he pulled it and hit Goliath in the forehead, and he won. David won. Little shepherd boy won against a giant warrior. And we often use this Bible story to talk about how God gives us what we need. And he equips us with all the tools we need to fight whatever battles that we need to fight. And I like to think of it too, how in our lives, we sometimes face our own Goliaths. We have our own giants to face. It might be insecurity or fear or hate or sadness. We have our own giants to face sometimes in life. But just like David had exactly what he needed to fight this warrior, God is giving us exactly what we need to fight the giants in our life. I have some rocks here. I've got 5 of them to help us remember. I'm going to give you some words, and maybe you want to go find some rocks outside, or also these smooth stones are nice. I don't think they're real stones, but in the story it talks about how David goes to the water and he picks up 5 smooth stones. And sometimes it's nice to rub them between your fingers. It just kind of depends on whatever you want. But anyhow, let me give you these words, and you can get your own 5 rocks and think about how God has given you everything you need to fight your giants. So the first word we have is courage. Courage. God gave David courage. David went up to Saul and said, I got this. I'll go fight this guy. Nobody else wanted to fight Goliath. Goliath was huge. He was terrifying. That's why the Philistines had him out in front of them, because they knew he was huge. He was terrifying, and he was going to win anybody who tried to fight him. But David said, I can do this. And he felt brave because of his past experiences. And God is giving us courage too. Sometimes when you have to face a giant, you can pray to God and say, God, I have this giant in my life that I need to face. Please send me courage. And God is wanting to give you that courage to face your giants. The second rock we have stands for confidence. David went to Saul and said, I can do this. And Saul's like, no, you can't. You're a shepherd boy. And David's like, but I've faced lions. I've faced bears. Like, I'm not going to let anything get my lamb or my sheep. He says he's fought off wild beasts and wild animals. I can do this. God has been with me and helped me fight those battles that were terrifying. I can do this. Sometimes that sentence is the most powerful sentence you could possibly say. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And when you say, I can do this, do you know who's cheering loudest for you? God. God's saying, yes, you can. I'm glad you feel that. I'm glad you feel my strength and power. So God gives us confidence, and we can pray to God and ask him to help us with that confidence too. Okay, my third stone, that I just dropped. I used a smooth one. My third stone is preparation. It's awfully hard to face any giant when you're not prepared. I'm not saying you can't do it, but it's so much better if you are prepared. And David went and told Saul he was going to do this, and Saul was like, well, we need to get you some armor. So he covered David in his heavy armor, and he had him all ready, and David starts to walk away. I don't know why, this always makes me giggle a little. And David's like, I can't even walk. I can't even walk in this armor. He's like, this isn't going to work. So he takes it off. He says, that's not the plan for me. And he thinks about it, and he figures out what his plan is. So he goes and he gets those 5 smooth stones and puts them in his pouch, and he prepares that way. So David thought about what he was going to do, and he prepared, and he got ready. And so when we have to face a giant in our lives, you can sit and think about it a minute. David didn't sit and think, oh, I'm so scared. This will never happen. I won't be able to do this. David said, I'm going to do this. What's my plan for how I'm going to do this? And God will be there to show you the way. If you say, God, what's your will for me? How should I do this, God? God will help you figure it out. So God helps us prepare to face the giants in our life. Another rock for trust. So when David went up to Goliath, imagine what it was like for Goliath, this 9-foot tall warrior. He's probably like, there must be some mistake. Maybe y'all didn't hear me, but I was asking you to send somebody to fight. He sees this little shepherd boy in front of him with no armor and a slingshot. Like, that's what this kid brought. And he even says, what do you think I am? I'm a dog? You're going to throw a stick for me to fetch it or something? Like, what are you even doing here? You have a stick. I have a shield and a spear and armor. What is this? And David said, I'm here to fight for God. I'm here not for me, not for you, but for God. And David stood there in trust with this warrior laughing at him. David said, I'm where I should be doing what I should be doing. I have to say that to myself a lot of the time. If I'm running late, or if something doesn't go as I planned it to be, or big disappointment happens, I can say, you know what? I'm where I'm supposed to be, doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And it usually turns out that I see something that I'm like, oh, if I hadn't have been there at that time, then this opportunity wouldn't have happened, or I wouldn't have gotten to experience this. It doesn't happen all the time, but I do know that no matter what, no matter where I am, God is with me, and I can trust in that. And God's helping fight this battle with me. Any giant that I face, I can trust that God is there with me, and it's his battle too. And our last word is victory. We have that feeling of victory when you feel that either it's a calm feeling or joyful, relief, or excitement, and you think about, yes, I did it. I am awesome. Look at what I just did. I am so awesome. When David was victorious over Goliath, he said, this was God's victory. This wasn't me. This was God's victory. And we can remember that too, because God has given us the courage and the confidence and the preparation and the trust. It's his victory as well. And he wants you to feel victorious. He wants you to feel how awesome you are. He didn't make you awesome so you wouldn't know how awesome you are. He wants you to know how awesome you are. And you can say, gosh, I am awesome, God. We got this. I can do anything with you, God. And it feels so good. So show me what is your will for me, God. And I know that with you and the Holy Spirit, I will face whatever giant comes my way. And I can. And I know that you can. And I'll pray that for you. And I hope that you'll pray that for me. And we'll have a wonderful week. And any giants that come our way, know that you're not alone, because you are so loved. You are so loved. And God has given you courage. God has given you confidence. God has given you preparation. God has given you trust. And God will give you victory. I love you, friends. Have a great week.